Thank you, Samantha, for that great introduction. And I got to say, with great young leaders like you, the labor movement is going to be in great hands. Don't you agree with me? Let me say good afternoon, brothers and sisters, and say it's great to be back in New Hampshire. You know, there's something extra special about coming up here during the political season. You know, there's sort of this buzz in the air. The fall leaves are out there. We have great football. And then there's this thing called the New Hampshire primary. I got to tell you, for a junkie like me, it really doesn't get any better than to be here at this time of year. And I want to just speak a little bit about my admiration for voters in this great state, because you really don't rely on debates and television interviews. You get to know the presidential candidates, and you really do interact with them one-on-one and force them to talk to you and to talk about policies and town hall meetings and dinners, and often in your own living room. And I'm sure there are times you probably would like to get them out of your living room quicker than they go, but it really is exciting. Now, because of that, because of where you're positioned, I don't need to tell you that New Hampshire plays a very unique role in choosing our presidents. And with that role comes a pretty awesome responsibility. So today I thought I'd talk about a little bit about the state of the labor movement and the role that we're playing in this election, and why the role that we're playing is so very, very important. You see, in January, the AFL-CIO hosted a national summit to launch an agenda for shared prosperity, and we call it raising wages. Raising wages is what we're all about. It's how we lift families up, it's how we lift our communities up, and it comes from activism, and it comes from the collective voice. But the agenda is about much more than wages. It's about what wages represent. It's about a philosophy, it's about a vision, and it's about a plan all rolled into one. And it starts with the absolute truth that no one should make less than a living wage. Everyone. And that collective bargaining should be available to all workers. But it goes far broader, and it goes far deeper than even that. You see, raising wages means trade policies that lift incomes in America and around the world. It means modern labor laws that give everyone who works a real opportunity to bargain for higher wages without fear. It means allowing workers to demand and win paid time off and fair schedules so that we can sustain healthy families. It means comprehensive immigration reform so that immigrants help us raise wages up, not pull wages down. It means Black Lives Matter. And it means Black Lives Matter so that all of our citizens, all Americans, have a fair chance at the middle class and a good life. Now, those of you who have worked in Washington know that summits and conferences happen all the time. And more often than not, after the last speech is given and the lights are ultimately turned off, people go right back to business as usual and not a whole lot changes. But not this time. You see, our national summit in January was a beginning, not an end. We created an agenda. We created a standard by which all things and all candidates would be measured. And we also scheduled 4 regional summits in the early campaign states. In fact, the first 4 campaign states. We previously had one in Iowa, and we'll bring our message to Nevada and South Carolina in the coming months, with this one nestled between those three. See, we knew that this time had to be different. And it had to be different for two reasons. First, labor's under attack like never before. The corporate right wing and their allies are waging the most sophisticated anti-worker campaign that we've ever seen. And they're coming after us in all 50 states, in city halls, in state legislatures, in Congress, and even at the Supreme Court. So we need allies. We need allies like your great governor. Now, I know the 2014 election was a tough one for working families, but we were proud to come together and re-elect a real friend of working people right here, Governor Hassan. Under her leadership, here's something to be proud of, because under her leadership, New Hampshire had more economic growth last year than any other state in New England. Because the governor understands that we must invest in infrastructure and education, and most of all, in the working men and women. She knows that raising wages is the only way to grow the economy. She pushed through the Paycheck Fairness Act to guarantee women equal pay for equal work, and all I can say is it's about time that happened everywhere, not just here. And she successfully froze college tuition for New Hampshire students. She's been a champion of the living wage, and she has stood strong against right to work in New Hampshire. She also knows that our trade policies should export American products, not American jobs. And that brings me to the second reason why we couldn't settle for the status quo after our national summit. And that's because of fast track. See, the truth is, as Rosa told you earlier, unfair trade deals have ripped apart the fabric of our union and our nation. You know it, and I know it. We've seen the shuttered factories. We've visited the towns that look like they're time warped in the 60s and 70s. We've talked to workers who have lost everything, only to be told that they should retrain in another field where there are no jobs there either. Now that's why we fought so hard against fast track, because we were fighting for the future of the American dream. Now, the work you did and the solidarity that you showed, I got to tell you, it was inspirational. Your letters, your phone calls, your emails, but most of all, your energy helped move the dial. And I got to tell you, it was a great sight for us to lay eyes on. And in the end, came up a few votes short. 3, as a matter of fact. And in this election coming up, I promise you, I will remember those 3 and the several others that joined them, so that we can repay the they gave. Think about this. While we came up a few votes short, we changed the trade debate forever. Because the debate used to be whether trade is good or bad. And those of us that would oppose bad trade deals, well, we were called Neanderthals and protectionists, and we didn't care about it, we didn't understand, and we were a little dense. Well, that debate will never happen again. Because now the debate will be over the trade deal, whether it has good rules or bad rules, and we may have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. We know a trade deal a bad one when we see it, right? See, Wall Street and the Washington Washington elite thought that the Trans-Pacific Partnership was going to be a slam dunk. They'd waltz into town with a crappy agreement, throw it down, and everybody would go, yahoo, let's grab that thing. Well, we not only slowed down the entire process, we put it under a microscope. And on Thursday, after 6 long years, the Obama administration finally released the text of the TPP. And to our disappointment, though not to our surprise, it's a bad deal for workers. It'll drive down wages, it'll kill jobs, it'll give corporations special rights, it'll hurt consumers, and it will jeopardize the public health. The release of the TPP text confirmed our worst suspicions that the deal would be a disaster for America. So, brothers and sisters, let me say, we're going to continue to make our voices heard. We're going to fight like hell against the TPP, and when it comes up for a vote, we're going to kill that bad trade deal once and for all and make trade work for everyone and not just those special few at the top of the team. Well, let me remind you, just as the raising wages agenda is about more than wages, the fast track fight was about more than trade. Fast track was a symbol of what our economy had become. A set of rules that were written by and for big corporations. And remember this, for decades now, they've tried to convince us that the economy's like the weather. There's nothing you can do about it. When it's raining outside, you go out, you see the rain, you can either put it on a raincoat and an umbrella, or you can come back inside, but there's nothing you can do about it. Well, the economy's not like the weather. The economy's nothing but a set of rules. Those rules decide the winners and the losers. And those rules are made by the men and women that we elect. Now, the debate raised a fundamental question in this country. Do we want to be a nation that values work, that values communities, that values investment, and values productivity? Or will we continue to reward wealth and profit and monopoly and inequality? See, brothers and sisters, we may have lost the vote, but we won the debate. We changed the conversation in America, and it shows us that we can change the rules of the economy, we can raise wages, and we can create an economy that works for all Americans, not the 1% at the top, and that's precisely what we're going to do. And that's what we set out. That was our strategy. When we had the summit in January, and when we're having these summits, it's to frame the debate. So that every candidate that comes in here, you ask them a simple question. What are you going to do to raise our wages? What are you going to do to make it better for us? When are you going to stand for us, and what is your plan? They've gotten to pass for too long. So it's about setting the debate and the issues. And I got to tell you, right now, we're seeing new worker organizing in manufacturing and construction and in retail and in fast food. And this year is especially big, because this year alone, 5 million of our brothers and sisters are negotiating collective bargaining agreements. That's the most workers in the history of the country that have ever bargained in 1 year. are getting raises because they're standing together with our progressive allies, and we're saying raising wages is the only way to grow the economy. It's the only way. You're doing great. You had 3 years of record profits in corporate America. It's time that you share some of that with the people that make that profit possible, and that's us. And we'll still work with you. Seeing it have some other effects too, and the Gallup polls that show that unions right now are at a 7-year high, and we're growing. And we see it in the 2016 presidential campaign. I don't know about you, but I thought the first Democratic debate was one of the best I'd ever seen. Here are just a few of the highlights. Hillary Clinton came out against the TPP and emphasized the word raising wages. Bernie Sanders decreed the casino capitalist process. Martin O'Malley talked about passing a living wage and investing in infrastructure in Maryland. Now, make no mistake, that's us. That's working people. That's labor that's influencing the debate. We're setting the terms and the conditions of this election and what it's going to take to get elected. We've said all along that the presidential candidates must explain what they will do. What they'll do to make our economy fairer for working families. And that's what we insisted on at our national summit in January. And that's what we're demanding right here in New Hampshire today. See, we also been crystal clear that we don't work for any political party or candidate. We work for working people, plain and simple, because we want the freedom to live better lives, to take care of our families, and to improve our jobs and our communities. Brothers and sisters, for too long we've worked for the Democratic Party, and in this election we're going to make the Democratic Party work for working people. I don't know if any of you had the stomach to watch the Republican debate, but even the Republican debate included a discussion about inequality. Now, they don't have any policies to help workers with inequality, but we forced them to talk about that issue. See, it's clear that we're a part of a powerful movement at a very, very historic time. And you, right here, you're on the front lines. It starts with us, and it starts right here in New Hampshire. See, we're building collective power in the workplace, in the economy, and in politics. And from now until the New Hampshire primary and beyond, we need to keep up the pressure on every candidate out there. We need to keep shaping the debate and making our voices heard. And we have a message for all the presidential candidates and anyone else who will listen. We're going to do everything in our power to raise wages. We're going to join together for good pay and great benefits and safe workplaces. We're going to fight to guarantee women are paid 100 cents on the dollar. We're going to push for policies that make it easier to form a union and bargain collectively and harder for employers to deny us our rights. We're going to stand united and defeat TPP so that we can start investing in working men and women around the country. And we're going to spend every single day building an America of shared prosperity that gives every one of us, every for a better